Hilson, who used to attend this church, were here for a service. And it just struck me that when I saw Anita, I think of Rachel, because I watched way too much television and movies, and I've seen Rachel perform in a number of productions, and I am personally impressed with her. I think she has a presence on the screen that cannot be denied. Every time she's on the screen, you watch her and you listen to her. And so I thought, we have a bona fide movie star who's a daughter of Baltimore, who used to go to this church, who is now making a living as a working actor in Hollywood. I think she lives in New York now, but she travels a lot because she's in demand. And it hit me that, how many of us have sat down in the same room with somebody who has actually made it in that industry, which is incredibly competitive? How many of us have had an opportunity to sit down with someone like that and just listen to them talk about their experience, particularly how they got there, what their path was, perhaps give some advice to anybody who's interested in becoming an actor or who's interested in the entertainment field. Just what it's like, a reality check, if you will. And so there will be time to ask questions for sure. But anyway, that was the inspiration for this event, and that's why we're here. So I don't want to take up too much of your time because I want you to hear from her. So I'm going to call up right now, first of all, Tom Hall, who is here as our guest interviewer. Tom has a radio show on WYPR that you may have heard, and Tom has willingly come and agreed to interview Rachel for us, ask her questions and get from her the kind of information that we want to hear. And if he misses anything, the rest of you will be able to fill in that gap. So Tom, I'd like you to come up, and I'm going to ask you to bring Rachel up because I'm sure you can do a better job. Or maybe not. Rachel Hilson is also here. And so, Tom, you're over there, I think. Yeah. He's not an actor, so he doesn't follow direction. But Tom will take it away, and I think you should buckle up because it's going to be very special. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see you. Thank you for coming. And how about a hand for Rachel Hilson, who's here, huh?
Thank you guys for being here. I really, really appreciate you being here. Thanks.
What do you remember about this church?
Immediately pulling up, I had this flashback to Easter on the grass over there. There's a picture that my sister and I are in, and we're just like holding our Easter baskets. I don't know if there's still an Easter egg hunt here, but that's what I remember the most, I'd say. Yeah. And the wood. I remember the wood. Yeah.
Well, thanks to Reverend Felton. Thanks to all of us, all of you for joining us this afternoon. Let's start kind of when you started as a professional. Your first job was, you were a very young girl. You were 12 years old. So how did you go from, that little kid that loved being on stage and doing stuff to actually getting a real live gig? It was a television show. Tell us about what the show was that you did when you were 12, and let's talk a little bit about what led up to that.
Yeah, I started as a dancer. Dancing was my first love, my first passion. And I, after years of doing that, decided to audition for a camp in New York. It was a Broadway camp, and you had to audition in every discipline. So in music, in dance, in theater. And this camp is affiliated with agencies in New York. And they come at the end of the camp for a showcase. And after I auditioned, I actually got a call from the leaders of this camp because an agent had been in touch with them who had a client who danced on this show or acted on the show called Lazy Town. and it's shot in Iceland. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's this show with these little kids and puppets, and this little girl wears pink hair, and this other guy wears like blue hair, and it's very fun. And Iceland is not known for its diversity. And so I think they were looking for some young, preferably Black or young girls of color to go and dance. And this camp had just seen me, and so they recommended me to this agent. I flew to Iceland like a week later with my mom, who is here, and that's sort of how it began. I had no real intention of going into film. I just loved dance, and I loved performing, and
So, is this an Icelandic production? They shoot it in Iceland, but did it air in the U.S.? Where did it air?
Yeah, it aired, I think, everywhere, but it was produced in English. It was an English language show, but it was created by Icelandic people. And it was meant to be a show that promoted activity and kids getting up and dancing and being active. And I guess they do that in Iceland, so...
Now, of all the kids that were at this camp, and they all had the kind of aspirations that you had. I mean, they were having fun at it, first of all, and secondly, they were really involved in, they had been involved in theater pretty seriously, because obviously you don't go to a camp unless you're kind of really into this when you're a little kid, right? Do you have any notion of what it was about you that stood out to these agents and the people who were, producing this show, and the adults who had the authority and power to hire you? Do you have a sense of what it was about you? And I wonder if how that sense has evolved as now that you've become an adult. What is it about the Rachel Hilson brand, I guess, or something? What stands out to others about you? How do you see that happening?
Well, I think I grew up in a household that really championed excellence in everything, trying to do my best in everything, trying to do my best in school, trying to do my best in sports, trying to do my best in dance. And dance was the thing I really took to, and so I think I really wanted to work hard at it. I really took to ballet, which is a really technical a technical style, and I think I wanted to be as good as I could be. I wanted to get the solos, and I wanted to get the roles in the Nutcracker, and so I think I just wanted to, I think I just really worked at trying to be the best that I could be, which I don't think is unique to me per se. I think that's something that's available to anybody who wants to be the best of themselves. But I'd say that was maybe what I guess stood out, what I imagined stood out.
So when you were hired at age 12 to do this show, did you kind of like get the bug at that point? I mean, when you're on a television set and the production people are around and everybody's around. I mean, what did that experience mean for you in terms of your developing aspirations to do other things?
I went back home after that, and I sort of went back to my life. I went back to dance on Saturdays. I went back to school. And it wasn't until the summer when the camp actually happened, because this happened before the camp, that I went to this camp and met with this agent properly, and just went in to thank her, honestly, for the opportunity, because I think I was not sort of sold on this being like, I don't know, the cameras of it all being part of my journey. I think I was still drawn to the stage and drawn to just sort of using my body as my preferred method of storytelling. and it was Nancy, my first agent, this agent, who asked me to read some lines, and it was the first time I'd really read lines properly and and tried to put some feeling into it. I hadn't really had that experience before, and from there she signed me, and I went on an audition, and I got my first audition, and I was like, oh, this is a piece of cake, which it was not, and I learned that very quickly. But I think it was just sort of the pursuit of trying to be the best that I could be again, and learning a lot about myself in the process, because I was shy. I was easier to communicate with my body for a long time than it was with my voice as well.
So the first one was easy.
The first one somehow was easy. I don't know if it was beginner's luck or just, the grace of God, to be honest.
A little bit of both, I'm sure.
A little bit of both, yeah.
And a whole lot of talent, too. But then what happened after that first one? What was the next step? Because it wasn't like it happened.
No, there was a ton of rejection. Ton of no's, lots of no's, probably mostly no's still. And I think it was a blessing to begin in Baltimore, where I wasn't necessarily around it all the time. Like, New York is such a hub, LA is such a hub, and I think being around these places where kind of all you're taking in is this industry, it's this really competitive energy. I think it was probably a blessing to not be around that all the time, and to sort of be able to go up to New York to audition and come back to what Baltimore was, which was this safe place, which was home. So I feel like I was able to work on my craft here in sort of a safe place at BSA, Baltimore School for the Arts, and really sort of get comfortable in this field, but still lots of rejection. Auditioning is a skill in itself. It's not easy. It's not easy to be in front of people, and the stakes are high, and have them sort of judge you on this moment, this single moment in time. But unfortunately, it's part of the industry. And again, you're not going to have good days. I've had a lot of bad days.
Sure. Talk about the audition process. You get the audition because your agent says, oh, I have a client who would be great for this role. And a production company or a producer or a writer comes to that agent and says, we're looking for, people to be these 6 characters. What happens then? How do you prepare for that audition? What do they tell you about the role? How much do you know? How do you do it?
Yes. So how it works is a project will come in front of an agent, or come before an agent. There will usually be a breakdown, yes, of the roles. The agent will then submit the clients that fit, whatever these breakdown roles are. And then the project will come back and say, okay, I want this person, and this person to audition. So there's already sort of like a vetting, like two rounds of that to start. And then, you'll get what are called sides, which are little excerpts from the script. Hopefully you get the whole script, but oftentimes you don't. And so you just sort of have to work with what you've got. You'll either go in for an audition. And
without the whole script, you don't really know what the story is.
You don't know a ton, no. And I think that's how it is, at least at first, because I think a lot of producers, a lot of writers don't want to share their scripts, leave it vulnerable to whose ever hands it falls in. And so I think to keep it safe, they like to share just a little bit. But then, there's an audition. There's an initial audition, which could be a tape or it could be in person. And then hopefully there's a callback, and then hopefully there's another callback, and then hopefully there's a chemistry read. It kind of varies the stages. There could be 2 rounds. There could be 4 rounds. There could be 7 rounds.
So for a taped audition, what will they ask you to send? You have to make your own tape. You have to tape yourself doing something and send it to them to get to that next stage. What would they ask you typically to do for that? For example, when you were on This Is Us, big, famous show on NBC, how did that show come to attach itself to you?
Yeah, I auditioned for that one in person. I got like an excerpt from the script. It's like usually, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 5 pages. And it's just a scene, typically from, in the case of This Is Us, from an episode. And, I go in, I audition with the casting person, and then you sort of wait. They might give you some notes. You might do it once, and then they give you some notes, and then you do it again, and that process might repeat, and then and that's kind of it.
And tell us about the casting person, because it's not like the head of the show auditions everybody for the show. They hire a person to go out and find the character. They hire a casting person. They're usually separate from, with shows, it's usually a casting person or a casting director who's there the entire show. And they bring in people to audition that they think might, work for these characters. With This Is Us, it was a unique process because oftentimes they're trying to find the younger version or the older person or the older version of characters already established. So they have a lot to keep in mind. Look, sound, just their ability to mesh with the already established character. And so, but do you know at that point what they're looking for, or do you have to kind of guess and think, okay, I'm gonna play this character a certain way because I think this is what they're probably looking for? I mean, there's a cat and mouse game kind of going on here, isn't there? Yeah, there is. I mean, I think early in my career, I was a little bit more preoccupied in what casting or what producers were looking for, which I think is a really hard place to be, a hard game to play with yourself, because you just have no idea what they're looking for. And so I think I was less inclined to sort of go with my own creative instincts at first, because I think I just wanted to show them what they were looking for, which I think in that circumstance, it's do a performance that says you should be looking for this. Yeah. Sorry, say that again? That you should, to convince them you should be looking for this. Exactly, yes. It's sort of like reframing your brain, like they need me, I don't need them, which is hard to do initially because obviously you want to get a job, you want to work. But yeah, I think with This Is Us, again, it was a little bit different because there was already a show to sort of refer to and a character to refer to. So I was able to base my audition around, Susan Kelechi Watson, who played the older Beth, and try to just give my interpretation of that. So you had some notion of this character. I had some notion, yeah, which is just not always the case. That was a fortunate situation, but yeah, you kind of just, I feel like I've had to learn to just trust my instincts, my creative instincts, because we all have them. We all have our creative instincts, our professional instincts, and those are usually right, to be honest. And if they're not right, then the role's just not for you. But You played a dead person on Law and Order, right? Didn't you get killed on Law and Order one time? I didn't. Oh, okay. I did not get killed. Oh. But did you do a Law and Order? Sorry to disappoint. I did. I did do Law and Order. Oh, I just assumed that everybody who gets hired for Law and Order gets killed at some point. No, fun fact though, with Law and Order, if you do get killed on Law and Order, you can't come back for another role. But if you survive, then you can come back and do another role. Did you get more than one? I have not done more than one Law and Order, no. It was quite the sticky situation that my character was in. I don't know if it's...
appropriate to talk about.
Okay. We are in church. Okay.
You can watch it later.
The other thing that's fascinating to me is what you referred to as a chemistry read. So how does that go? What does that mean?
A chemistry read is kind of what it sounds like. It's an opportunity to see whether or not you have chemistry with the other character who's either already cast or who is also auditioning. I actually just had one of these. It's very tense sometimes. With some of them, there might be 3 of you going out for one role. And if you're working opposite somebody, there might be another three actors there for that role, if that makes sense. And they'll bring you in and they'll sort of mix and match and see whose chemistry works the best for this project. And again, I say the best for this project because I think that's something that actors need to remember. Sometimes it's not that certain actors were the best, it's just they were the best for this world, this particular project. And so, yeah, you just sort of like, see work off of each other, see if there's just a natural energy between you. Yeah. And
does that natural energy flow from a relationship that you would have off camera, off script, not in real life? In other words, if someone you meet somebody and you get along, you just you click, you enjoy speaking with him or her. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of chemistry count for the chemistry that a casting agent is looking for? Is there a connection?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly helpful, I think, to have an off-screen sort of natural chemistry. I think the hope is that actors can have chemistry with a paper bag, because they're able to just find find an energy themselves, because sometimes you're not given a ton from a scene partner, or sometimes, especially in TV and film, you might have a sight line or an eye line that is the corner of the camera. Sometimes another actor can't actually physically be present in the scene with you, and so it's like you have to sort of create your own chemistry.
Talk about that. How does that work? So you're in a scene with someone else, mm-hmm. except you have to say your lines without that person being there? How does that work? You might
get to say the lines with the person, but you might not be able to look at them. So with with TV and film acting in particular, because you're getting so many different angles, so much different coverage, I might be talking to you, this is the scene we're doing, but they might have to get it. They might have to get your profile on this side. They might have to get your profile on that side. And then they want to come right here probably too. And if I'm right here, the camera can't be right here. So I might have to be over here, but you have to look here. Does that make sense? And so then you just sort of have to make it work. You just have to be able to, I mean, it's sort of like a puzzle-y game in that way as well. Yeah.
And that's what a director does. A director says, you stand here and look into this camera, and your scene partner is actually going to be over here. So you're not looking into the eyes of your scene partner, but rather into the eyes of the camera.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the most ideal, of course, but that happens very frequently, yeah.
Let's watch a clip. We have a clip of some of your work in a show called Duster, which we'll talk about. But in terms of the chemistry, I'm interested. So let's, if we could run the first clip from Duster, and before we hear it, tell us about the co-star of this series, Josh.
Yeah. So Duster is a drama. Kind of an FBI drama about a young black FBI agent who I play named Nina, and she goes to the Southwest to take down this crime syndicate, this desert sort of mafia, and she ends up working with this getaway driver who's a part of this mafia organization, and he becomes her, oh gosh, oh god, what is it? What? Informant. He becomes her informant, and Josh Holloway, he is kind of a little bit of a TV legend. He was in the show Lost and lots of other things, and he's wonderful. We're very different, but I think that's sort of what works about our dynamic. Yeah.
So let's watch this scene from Duster. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it from here. Maybe we can just pop down here, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Do I know you?
You'd remember.
So where are we going?
Well, that's up to you. I was warned not to come see you. It'd be a waste of my time. That you're nothing but a loyal driver without any common sense.
Well, sister, I do love my job.
More than Luna? Something tells me your loyalty isn't just with Ezra Saxton. Interstate transportation of stolen property is a violation of federal law with a sentence of up to 10 years in prison. And when that stolen property is a human organ, well, it's another 5 years. That little girl will be in her 20s before you can take her for another ride to get some cinnamon chips.
What do you want?
Informant contract. Sign it. Work with me to build a case against Ezra Saxton, and I'll do everything I can to keep you out of prison.
How long you been at this? That badge wallet's barely got a crease.
It's my second day.
No kidding. Day 2. Well, here's a little heads up. You're gonna have a day 3.
Between the two of you in the scene, that's a complicated situation. How do you work that out?
Yeah, this was actually the scene I auditioned with. It was one of 3 scenes I auditioned with, and it was my chemistry read with Josh. So we did this scene in my audition together. And yeah, there's a lot of layers here. I think, Nina, my character, this is, again, her second day, as she says, on the job. And I think she's competing with a lot. First of all, she is a Black woman in 1972 in the FBI. And first of all, we took some creative liberties with the show. The first Black woman didn't actually join until 1976. But all this to say, she's not coming into something easy. And there's a lot against her already, and I think there are already a lot of people in her office who want her to fail. So I think she's having to do a lot of putting on herself, a lot of acting, even in here. She has to act confident, and she has to act like she knows who she is and what she's doing. And I think initially she sort of has to act like she belongs in this car as either somebody that is a potential love interest for this person or somebody that attracts his interest so that she can sort of get him. So there's a lot of different layers to contend with and to sort of merge together to create a scene that, that has depth and feels rich with a very unique sort of chemistry. Yeah.
Because it's chemistry, but you're automatically at odds with each other. So
Yeah.
it is. But do you have those conversations with Josh, with the director, with the writer of the scenes? Do you go into that kind of detail with each other? Is that all part of the process that happens before they shoot?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the process. I love getting to sort of turn over all of the stones in a script and sort of, find all of the things that are in there that aren't written or that are unspoken. And yeah, I think it depends. There's some actors who like to talk with their scene partners about their motives, but I think some prefer to just discuss it with the director so that, you guys are both coming in fresh and not too rehearsed and not too aware of, what you're trying to pull from the other person.
And what camp do you fall in?
I love to talk about this stuff. I feel like this is my favorite thing to do. In theater, I feel like it's more common to have these conversations about, like the little minutia of the character's feelings or their shifts from line to line. I love to do that. But I think I'm pretty malleable and open to whatever my scene partner wants to do. Because I think there is something really interesting about coming in fresh and just ready to sort of play with whatever the actor brings and not really know what they're bringing.
So a scene like this, where did you shoot it? Were you actually outside in a car in a parking lot, or were you on a sound stage? And do you remember how many takes you did for that scene?
Yes, so we were definitely outside. It was very cold. We were in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And for this scene, this was an important scene because it's the first time these two characters meet. And so the director really wanted to get it right. So we did this one a few times from, again, different angles. You were able to see there was like a wide shot, there's a close up on each of us. So you do each of those angles, each of those pieces of coverage 3 or 4 times each. So that scene took probably like 3 hours to shoot. Yeah. Just that one scene, because what you have to do is set up the camera for these different shots, and setting up the camera, setting up lighting takes up the most of the shooting process. And then, you go in and you do it, and it's, like you saw, a minute, and then you go and you sit, and then you go back, and then you kind of repeat that until you get what you need.
And do you say the lines in a purposely different way each take? Does the director say, okay, you did it one way the first time, now try it a different way, emphasize this word instead of that word? Do you change the performances in between takes in a 3-hour shoot?
Yeah, I think you want to give the editor and the director just lots to play with in the editing room. Because ultimately TV is an editor's medium. Sure, it's, an actor, actors perform in it, but you might not always shoot what ends up getting captured. Like what ends up being put together might not be exactly what you expected, because they can sort of choose any clip they want. And so yeah, I what was the question? Sorry.
Do you do do you say the lines differently, between take 1, take 2, take 12, take 20?
Yeah, I think sometimes. I think it depends on the director, and I think also what feels right for the actor. Like, I think, you want to give your
what
or right for the character rather
is like, do they want it exactly the same each time, so
no.
that when they have a different angle on the camera, it's always the same? Or do they want a bunch of different emotions that they can then choose the emotion they want?
Yeah, I mean, I think that personally, just as an actor, it gets boring to do it exactly the same. So I think just for my own, to keep it fun for me, I like to do it different every time. If a director wants it exactly the same, they might ask for it, but that little piece of creative agency is very valuable to me.
So at the end of the day, they have all of these clips. They have all this film. I guess they don't call it film anymore. It's where they have it in some.
They call it. They call them dailies.
Dailies.
Yeah.
Do you, as an actor, get to look at the dailies with the director, the producer, the writer, and say, "Oh yeah, that one was the best take of these 5 to choose from"? Do they let you do any of that?
I don't have a producing credit on this show, but if I was an actor and also, a producer, then maybe. But or like if I wanted to look at the dailies just for my own education, just to see what is working and not working, I could probably do that. But I can't choose the takes that I like best. It's not my domain, unfortunately.
Everybody has their job, and that's not yours.
Above my.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's listen. We have another piece of tape from, I guess it's Norman's son, right? Is that, who are we going to hear from? This is a guy. Who is a writer or is in the production business in Los Angeles, right? So he has a particular take on the movie business, on Hollywood, on how this all takes, not from an actor's perspective, but from a perspective of a person who's involved in the business from a different way. So let's listen to a little bit.
Out there right after college, he just went to LA, had no place to stay, no job. He knew he had cousins out there, and he said, "I'm going to be a writer." So I think for 3 years he didn't write anything. He washed a lot of dishes, he busted a lot of tables, but then he became a writer.
Yeah, but he went to LA. Yeah, good for him. So let's listen.
Morning, Madison Avenue. Thank you, Elder Parker, Dad, for having me as a small part of your program today. I was asked to speak to my journey from Baltimore to Los Angeles and kind of how I became involved in entertainment and the entertainment space. And, I definitely want to start by saying there's truly no roadmap or, set of steps you have to take to get involved, as there's an incredible amount of opportunities out there, not even just in Los Angeles. New York, now Atlanta has plenty of production opportunities. Canada, there's so many spaces. But I can speak to myself and my journey so far. And it all honestly started at the church, where, to me, I feel like I kind of had that first sense of community, which is so important, especially when you do move to, if you do pursue Los Angeles. It's very lonely when you first get there, because there's no one there to tell you and guide you to exactly what you're supposed to be doing to kind of break into this business. I was lucky to have had some distant relatives that lived in Los Angeles that offered their home to me. That, the first 2 weeks that I was there, where I'd go door to door with resumes and just try to get an entry-level job so that I could afford an apartment with myself and my roommate at the time, and then start to pursue these opportunities in entertainment. And my first opportunity was as an internship. I was an unpaid intern working for a company called Zucker Productions. The heads of the production company were, 2 former producers, kind of prolific in the comedy space, that really, taught me how to be an assistant in the space. So it was everything responsibility-wise, from being on their phone calls and tracking their notes and being able to just kind of learn the language that folks in the industry speak when it comes to deal making or developing scripts or just the writing process. And I know, up until that point, I had no set goal on what I wanted to achieve in this business, other than knowing that I kind of have grown up being a class clown my whole life. And, comedy was something I naturally gravitated towards. And when I saw the opportunity for writing, I knew I was, better at taking essay tests than memorizing a bunch of, information that I didn't feel would be pertinent to what I wanted to, chase but I love storytelling, and writing was just that natural fit. And that internship essentially showed me all aspects of the business, from scripts that would come into our offices and I would read it, and then you give what they call coverage, which is essentially notes and telling, the production heads how you felt about the script, if the characters were great, if the story was great, and if it merited existing as turning it into a movie or a show. It was very cool being a part of that creative process. I spent a year at the internship, and they essentially said, we're not paying you, so you should go out and find an assistant job, either within a talent agency or a network, if you can get one of those jobs. And I was lucky to I had one mentor from my high school that was a former graduate that had gone out to Los Angeles to produce. And he got me on this email mailing list that essentially had every job listing from assistant to receptionist to phone call roller, like all just different types of opportunities that would kind of get my foot in the door for what I wanted to chase after. And I was lucky enough to land at the TBS network, which, for a long time was just known for running reruns of Friends and Frasier. But when I got there, they started to make original programming. So I was on a team that essentially was fielding scripts from writers all over and was a part of the decision-making process and production process of getting these shows, up and running. And I was lucky enough to work on a show with Tracy Morgan and Jordan Peele, as his first television program coming off of his sketch show called The Last OG. And that was my first experience in a writer's room, which is ultimately where, years ago, the first kind of step towards becoming a full-time writer is to break into those writers' rooms. And I was what they called a writer's assistant, where all of the full-time staffed writers are sitting around the table. They're telling stories and jokes and coming up with episode ideas. And it was my job to sit there and type fast and track everything they're saying so that when it came time to put these episodes together, they wouldn't have missed a story they told. No jokes were missed. Like, it's really, you got to pay attention in the room, and it really just tracking. The job was to track. And if you're lucky enough to succeed in that role, a lot of times in those writers' rooms, they'll bump you up to a writer. If, they also, as an aside, in all of these experiences you have in this business or others, I'm always preaching that the best way to kind of advance yourself in a career is to be a great hang, be someone that everyone wants to be around and spend. A lot of times in these rooms, it's 12, 13-hour days, wants to spend that time around you, because you'll get hired for your personality over the specific skill set you have, because you can teach anyone to write, what I write, and, to track things. And there's probably 100 better typers than me in the world. But if you can kind of hone your interpersonal skills and work well with everyone and, exercise patience in everything you do, you'll go as far as you want to go with what you're doing.
Tenacity that it takes for you as an actor, for Norman the Third as a writer, literally knocking on doors and handing out the resumes. I mean, you were nodding your head. You heard a lot.
Yeah. It's because it's familiar. It's sort of the same sort of path. It's a lot of just, handing your resume, handing your headshot to people, making small talk in the room. I think what he said about being a great hang kind of resonates, because a lot of what I hear is, people just want to work with good people. People just want to work with people that they know will be team players and that they know are good at their job, but that are also just good at listening and good at and good at
because
the
people have
skills.
come to want to work with you, not just because you're a good actor. You have to be a good actor because there's lots of good actors.
There are a lot of good actors.
But you have to also be a person that you want to hang around a set with for 12 hours a day. I mean, you have gotten a reputation in the industry as being someone people want to work with. They want to be around, and that that takes a while, right? And your 30th birthday is Thursday. So it's, I mean, it's not like you're a grandmother yet, I mean, yeah, but but that's a real part of it, isn't it? The personal relationships. It's more than just the talent that it takes to be good at saying the line.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also what makes great artists. I mean, I think you definitely have artists that are, very much in their craft, and a lot of like method actors, and they go very insular, and they're maybe sometimes, you know what? I won't talk about them because they're good at their thing. They're good at method acting. That's not my thing. But I like to be around people. I like to be around people in this industry. I like to know what everybody does on set. I think that's one of the most important things. The things that I've observed from the actors that I really admire is just how they treat other people on set. They know all of the names of the crew members. They know all of the names of the writers, and they make an effort to talk to them and get to know what their role is on set. I think that also just helps you be a better participant in these sets, because you know what everybody's doing, and it can help you make you a better actor, better at your job.
You just did a movie with Will Ferrell. So what's it like to work with an actor of his reputation? I mean, he's, known the world over for a whole bunch of movies and stuff. You're at a different point in your career than he is at his. Mm-hmm. What's that dynamic like?
I think we're in the same place, actually. Just kidding. That was a great experience. I think one of the things that we often maybe forget as audience members, as actors I'm in a different point in my career, is that these people are human beings. He is very much a human being. He gets nervous on the first day. He is just trying to get, the best scene. He's just trying to get the best out of his scene partners. Like, he is a human being. And I think that's one of the things I learned from being around him and being around a lot of the prolific actors I've been around. Regina Hall is also in that film, and she's also somebody who's not always sure of herself, and but then just tries, just gives what she can give. So I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate in being around these veterans is, yes, definitely seeing how they work, and definitely seeing them be human beings.
And one of the reasons that you are such a wonderful human being, you and your sister both, Kimmy, is, I'm talking about something I actually know what I'm talking about, because we've known Rachel and her sister and her mom and dad for 30-something, before you even were on the scene. And I'd love to bring Anita up, Rachel's mom.
Hey, girl.
Because as the mother of an actor who started as a child, she was 12 years old in that first gig, and you went to Iceland with her, and you've gone to countless auditions with Rachel. What's your perspective on this business and on the importance of family?
Well, that's a loaded question. I am very proud of her, and everything that she's done over the years. But I think it is hard. It is hard. But I think one of the things I would want to tell parents, especially, is that if you have a child that's interested in the arts, that's great. Support them, but make sure they're interested. Make sure it's not what you want for them. I've met some parents along the way, because it is not as easy as it seems. There's a lot of, Rachel has, she talked about how that 1 minute scene took like 3 hours, but there are a lot of other things. There are no regular days. Like most of us in here have a regular day. We, those of us who work, we go in at like 8 or 9 o'clock and we get off at 4 or 5 o'clock. kind of every day. Or you might do your show. You might go in at, I don't know, 9 or 10, and you're done at 2, and then you do whatever you do. With Rachel's work, and with most actors, the day might start at 6 a.m. She might be on set at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. And work until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Or she might go in at noon and get back at 2 or 3 in the morning. I remember when she was filming American Horror Story, they were out in the desert in somewhere in California. And for whatever reason, the production company did not want to hire drivers for these young people. It was Rachel and maybe 3 or 4 other young people, driving back at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Like 6 a.m. You go for night shoots. You start at like 5 or 6 p.m. and then you go until like 6 a.m. until the sun comes up. Yeah. Because you got, you work all night. You have to get the darkness of night.
And so with scheduling like that, it's hard. And so one of the things that, I have, come to learn about this is that, a lot of what we see, and a lot of it is, it's great. We see these great shows on TV and we see these great movies. There's a lot of hard work behind it. And, and it's not just about, getting the scenes right and a lot of takes. It's just, it's just mentally, that's hard. I don't know how I would manage if my life were like that on a regular basis. But I've seen how resilient she's become. I remember, from the early days, that very first Lazy Town show, she was all about work. I remember there was the young woman who played, what was her name? Juliana, the main girl with the pink wig, whatever her name was. Anyway, Rachel came to work, and so she said that she was a dancer. That was her first love. And, there was the series regular who was also a dancer, but they were asking Rachel to demonstrate dances. And I didn't see a lot of that. I saw some of that because I actually didn't go down to set a whole lot. When Rachel was, in dance classes growing up, I was often there when she was little, but I wasn't watching. I wasn't, just kind of there watching. So when she did that first show, I spent a little bit of time on set, but mostly I was actually director of admissions at McDonough back then. And that first show that she did in Iceland, I was still in admission season. And so I asked them for a computer, and I was kind of working with the other Lazy Town business people. And because I didn't want to make her nervous either. I didn't want to be that parent who, like, if she did something and I had a reaction, that she would see that it would make her nervous. And I do think that was the best thing. But that's partly because I don't know what she's doing anyway. Even at 12, she was a dancer. I couldn't do what she was doing. So it wasn't going to serve a great purpose for me to kind of be what I considered in the way.
How do you both handle the very real dimension of this business of rejection? Because you've mentioned it a couple of times. You take, I don't know how many auditions before you get that job. But it's not like you just go in for this one audition, you get the job, and then you go for another audition, you get another job. You audition for all sorts of stuff, even at this point in your career, where you're well known, you've done big TV shows, This Is Us, American Horror Story. You had a leading role in another thing. You played a high school kid.
Love Victor.
Love Victor. You've done movies, TV. It's not like you're inexperienced, but you still have to take these auditions, and then you still have to live with the disappointment because they chose somebody else. How do you deal with that? And Anita, how do you deal with that as a mom?
Well, I'll start with the mom part and then hand it off to Rachel. So, I think earlier on, it probably definitely was harder.
A lot of tears.
A lot of tears. But what I have always told Rachel is, honestly, it comes from a faith-based place. What God has for you is for you. And And that's harder to understand when you're younger and maybe not as developed in your faith. But I tell her that all the time, that you are excellent. You don't know, what ideas people might have had about who they're looking for. I actually talked to someone who does do production, who's done movies, who actually did Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, for example. That's one of his movies, somebody that I know. And I remember he told me once, and he told me to share this with Rachel. This is a few years ago. He said he was in the casting room, when they were casting a film, and there was an actor who was perfect for the role, like the best of all of the actors who had auditioned for this role. Everyone in the room agreed that that was the best actor for the role, but she did not get the role because the executive producer, she reminded him of his ex-girlfriend. And that had nothing to do with the talent of any of those actors in the room. But that's why she didn't get the role. So I've tried to, every time I talk to Rachel, when, we'll talk about something that she's working on, or, I'll say I always say a prayer for her. I'll always say a prayer for her. But in the end, I know that what God has for her is for her, and that I remind her of just what her career looks like from the beginning. It's been an upward trajectory. It's just gone up. And I tell her, God doesn't bring you this far to leave you hanging. You're not going to go from Lazy Town to a lead in a J.J. Abrams, LaToya Morgan show, to a movie with Will Ferrell, to the sequel to an Emmy-nominated movie, and then just be dropped. And so I try to remind her of that. And hopefully, I think it's sinking in a little bit. But who likes rejection? That's the thing. Who likes rejection? Nobody likes that. But I like to be that voice of support and a reminder of, that, God gave her the talent that she's got. And the plan is bigger than we can imagine.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
huh?
amen. I think what's for you won't pass you. And I think that I've internalized that over the years, that, what role is for me is not gonna pass me by. It might even come back around if it wasn't mine initially. And I think every audition is an opportunity to perform. It's an opportunity for people to see you and to see your talent. And there are a lot of times when I've not been right for something, but the casting director has remembered me for something else.
It's like there's no bad experiences at a certain level, right?
I mean, there are bad auditions, but but yeah, no. Being seen is never usually a bad thing. Yes. Go ahead. I forgot what I was going to say.
Good. So good. I'm not good, but anyway. So one example of something not going the way you thought it was would be the show that she did with Nicole Byer. So Rachel did the pilot with Nicole Byer 10 years ago. And they go through the editing or whatever, and they decide to retool it. And if you saw the interview she did on Jimmy Kimmel, you understand that Rachel was not included in the retooling. So basically she was fired. And I remember at the time she was really upset. I think were you in college then, maybe by then?
I was in college.
In college. She was really upset about this because it was, such a great opportunity. And the other thing I say to her is, no experience wasted. Like, no experience wasted. You learn something from everything. And here, 10 years later, Nicole Byer is guest hosting for Jimmy Kimmel and invited Rachel to appear as a guest on the Tuesday night of that week. And it's highly unlikely that would have happened if they hadn't had that experience 10 years prior. Yeah. And the other thing I'll say about, just, when Rachel she did a movie with Kings, with Halle Berry, Daniel Craig, and there were a lot of high hopes for that. The first day Rachel was on set, she comes back and she said, I want to quit. You remember that?
No.
Yes, you do. She wanted to quit. She wanted to quit. The director was challenging, and that was probably an understatement. And that is the thing. I mean, you've seen coaches. You've heard about, coaches yelling at players and saying some things that are colorful and probably you shouldn't repeat in church. I mean, that sort of thing happens on set. And it's hard. She was maybe 18 or 19 when that happened. And it was like that almost every day. And I told her, you can't quit. You can't quit. And it was probably the first time I said to her, no experience wasted. You'll learn a lot from it. You'll learn that not all directors are created equally, and she's learned that too. I've talked about some of the bad things. There are a lot of good things, but just, for anybody who's interested in this career, it takes a lot of support on the side of someone who can just kind of be there to keep her up and pull her up when people try to push you down. And it's shocking because you wouldn't think that that's the best way to get the best out of somebody, but that is the way it seems to happen sometimes.
Yes, correct. Sometimes it is like that. I will say, I remember what I was going to say. I recently had an audition. It was a third round audition that I went into this past week. It did not go my way. I was a little upset about it. But I feel like I've learned, okay, I'm going to give myself this day to be upset and to kind of mourn it, because you do put a lot of work into it. You put a lot of energy into things. I think it's same with interviews. If you've got a job interview, you study for it and you try to really prepare for it in the best way you can. And for me, it's also mourning these characters that you grow attached to. But I tell myself now, all right, you're gonna get a day to be upset, to be sad, and then you're just gonna let it go because you have to, and you got to move on.
Yeah, go on to the next thing. Can I ask you about being on Jimmy Kimmel and being on these talk shows? Because I'm fascinated by this. So here's Nicole, as your mom said, Nicole Byer invites you on the show. When you do the show, you have a segment that's how long? Maybe 8 minutes?
Yeah, 8 to 10 minutes. Yeah.
Do you rehearse? Do you and Nicole Byer sit there at the desk in the chair and talk about what you're going to talk about? Or is that you're smiling? Is that a secret? Is that an industry secret? No. Is it practice or is it off the cuff?
So we do not rehearse. However, there is a pre-interview that you do with one of the producers, and you kind of give them a 40-minute version of that 8 to 10 minute segment. So you just talk about all sorts of things, and any of those things that you talked about with the producer can come up in that little segment, but you don't know what. So it's kind of both. It's kind of you've had a little bit of a rehearsal, but then it is truly off the cuff and it is truly live.
Are you comfortable in those situations? There you are on national television. Is that nerve-wracking for you? Is it fun? What is it?
I think I've always thrived on that adrenaline rush a little bit. I think that's one of the things that has attracted me to theater and to live performance is that rush that you get. Probably a runner's high. My dad you're a runner. Yeah.
Your dad's a real runner.
He's, but it's very nerve-wracking. Yeah. But I think you just sort of, you just use it,
And Anita, as Rachel's mom, do you have a solid notion of what you dream for her? I mean, we all dream things for our kids. And Is it something that you can, describe, or is it kind of open-ended? What do you think?
For both of our daughters, from the time they were born, first of all, I'm just grateful that I have lived to see them grow up, and grow up to be phenomenal young women. And so my dream for her and for her sister is that, that their dreams come true. And it's my role to try to support them. And sometimes that means, flying out if she needs help. It might mean babysitting my granddaughter as much as I can. But as far as and my granddog, yes, my granddog has been with me for a month, Rachel's dog. But as far as her career goes, I want it to go exactly the way she wants it to go. She talked earlier about excellence, and that's something she brings to every role. And I've actually talked to people on some of the productions. I've talked to some of the directors. I've talked to some people in the production company, and consistently over the years, they talk about her excellence and her professionalism. And I have talked to, I know that there are a number of actors who, would like to do half as well as she does, on what she might consider a bad day. So, my goal for her is just for her to not forget that she is strong and talented, because it can be difficult, in this career. I want her to always remember that there's nothing that she can't do, and that just because the answer is no, it's not a personal reflection on her. So I want her to go as far as she wants to go, and I look forward to being there to support her. Yeah.
And Rachel, you, when it comes to excellence, acting and the arts are an ever-evolving, ever-improving, we hope, endeavor. You trained at the School for the Arts, went to NYU for college. You were working all through that experience. You've been working now in the years you've been out of school. Are you still studying acting? How do you approach the craft of acting now, that you are certainly firmly established in the business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that for the last several years at least, have been working pretty consistently, and therefore getting a lot of my, reps in on set. There's been more of a hiatus period, a little bit more of a longer period of rest in the last year or so, and I think that's when it's sort of like crucial to get these reps in. I started improv this year, so I've been like trying to just learn new skills, honestly, because I think learning new skills, exposing myself to new experiences or styles is gonna keep me fresh and keep me I loved learning. I love being in school, so I think watching films from now and from years before, I think is really important, just to study what I think works, and to get to know what my my personal style and my personal my creative opinions are.
That was my next question. When you watch movies now, or watch television shows, how do you watch them? I mean, do you watch them from the point of view of, a director, an actor, a writer? Can you just sit back and just groove on a film, or can you stop yourself from, that professional perspective of how they made this?
It's really hard. And so when a film or TV show is so good that it sort of takes you or it puts you right into the world, that's always a treat, because I think it is really hard to turn that off. I'm sure Norman can attest to that as well. When you know too much about how the sausage is made, it's hard to unsee it. But yeah, I tried to go in just from an audience member, as a viewer, as an appreciator.
If you were a casting director, what would you consider the ideal role for you? Is there a role that you're dying to do, a type of character that you're trying to do? I mean, this character you had in Duster was fascinating, and you did such a wonderful job with it. And I think I think we do have time to grab another clip of it. But is there an ideal role that you would just love to do?
This might be a disappointing answer, but no. I feel like I'll know it when I read it, or I'll know it when I see it. I think theater is a little different because, I do know a lot of plays, and so there are definitely roles in theater that I would love to explore. Honestly, any of August Wilson's characters, but no. I'm just open to seeing what strikes me.
Let's watch another clip from Duster, and I want to ask you how you prepared for that role, how you became an FBI agent in 1972, and actually your mom and dad had something to do with that, that you told me before. So let's watch another clip from Duster.
They're expecting me at work, so let's make this quick.
Now, you can be pissed off that we're working together, or you can be grateful that you're not in prison.
How about you call to give me those options?
I need to know who Saxton is meeting with, who he's making deals with. If he's going somewhere, I need you to take him and get whatever info you can on who he's meeting and why.
Baltimore, I drive for Sax, but I'm not his driver, if that's what you want. Norm is the guy you should have extorted, not me.
Extorted. I'm helping you find out what happened to your brother.
You showed me some fuzzy video of the van blowing up, which doesn't prove a thing.
So you're called, I mean, the other character who drives for this sort of mafia guy, he calls you Baltimore. Mm-hmm. That's it. That was when we first heard that, when we watched it, we thought, oh my gosh. I mean, how did that come to be? I mean, J.J. Abrams is the producer of this. He's famous for producing a lot of other shows. I guess he produced Lost too, right? Yeah. How did you form this character, and how did she come to be called Baltimore?
Well, she was always called Baltimore. It was serendipitous that this role stumbled into my life, and I think it was meant to be, because she was always written that way. I did do a lot to prepare for this role. I did first utilize the resources that are my parents, who
remember 1972,
who remember the 70s.
Right?
Just, talk to them about their experience. I remember asking my mom if she thought that, things were better in 1972 or in 2023 when we started shooting. And she said 1972, because things were headed more in an upward trajectory, which I thought was interesting than now. So that sort of informed a lot of where I went with this character as well, and where her mindset was. I think she has a lot going on internally. She's got a lot of history, a lot of scars, a lot of hurts, as any person does. So I used the scripts to really investigate where she might be at any given point in the story. Read a lot of books I read books on Nixon. I read books on the Black Panthers. Watched a lot of films from the 60s and 70s. Listened to a lot of music. Made playlists. And those are some of the things I did to prepare. I had to learn Russian.
Yeah, you had to learn a bunch of things. I mean, it's a very physical role. I mean, you had to shoot a gun. And all
learned
that.
how to shoot a gun.
How did you talk about learning to speak Russian? Because you go undercover. Your character Nina goes undercover as a translator at a meeting of a couple of crime kingpins. How did you? Because your Russian was very convincing. I don't speak Russian, but boy, it sure sounded Russian to me.
Great. I'm really happy to hear that. I learned in my chemistry read from JJ that I would be having to speak another language, and he asked if I knew any other languages fluently, to which I said no, but I could. I can learn these things. And so I when I got the role and I learned that it was going to be Russian, I started working with a tutor immediately because Nina is supposed to be fluent, and I wanted to make sure that, I wasn't just learning the sounds and learning just specific words. I wanted it to sound natural and like she has been doing this for years and years.
Well, you pulled that off. How about the shooting the weapon? How does one learn how to do that for TV?
Well, yeah. So, that's the other thing. I worked and talked with a lot of former FBI agents, and one of them, Julian, who lives in Albuquerque, he went with me to a shooting range several times, and I learned how to shoot a gun. Which I didn't know I was ever going to do. And that was scary, but it was certainly useful. We had no real guns on set. They were all dummy guns, so we had to just learn what it felt like to, what the recoil feels like and what the weight of it feels like. So it was informative for that reason. I don't need to do it again, per se, maybe for another role, but it was interesting.
So there were 12 episodes of?
8.
8, okay. And the 8 episodes, when you started filming in 2023, how long did it take to film the 8 episodes?
6 months.
6 months. And the other question I have for you about the shooting of Duster over a 6-month period, do you shoot things sequentially, or do you shoot like all of the scenes that happen on one set on one day or 1 week, and then you switch the scene, the set to another place and shoot all those things, so that as an actor you're jumping from point to point in the story, or do you shoot it the way the story progresses for the viewer?
We would typically shoot episodes 2 at a time. So it was what we called block shooting. So we'd shoot the first 2 together, the second, or the 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8 together. And so we would go back to locations if we had to. So it was sort of sequential. However, we might shoot an episode might shoot a scene from episode 2 in the morning, and then a scene from episode 1 in the afternoon. That sort of thing.
When you see yourself on television or in a movie theater, what do you think? Is that a fun experience? Is that a scary experience? What kind of? I know people who, I was a musician for a long time, and so we do records, and they come out, and then a year later you listen to the record and you think, oh, that was horrible. How could I possibly do that?
Yeah.
But I mean, is it like that, or is it still exhilarating the way when you were 12 years old and saw yourself on TV for the first time? What's it like?
Well, I think earlier in my career I didn't love watching myself. I think I grew to see the value in watching myself just from a educational standpoint, learning the things the habits that I have. Something might feel different than how it looks, and so it's sometimes useful to see what you're doing. Do I enjoy watching myself? I don't know if that's the word. I think it's like, you know, everybody feels weird about hearing their own voice, and I think there's still some of that. But I think I've learned to really appreciate the projects I'm a part of, in part because I know how much goes into them. I know how much the writers put into them. I know how much, you know, the director of photography puts into them, and the director. So you kind of want to, or I now want to watch something just to appreciate everybody's work. And I in that way have some distance from it if I'm just watching it as like a piece of art that's, you know, not just me, you know, take myself out of it a little bit.
And we appreciate that you've all been so wonderful and attentive, but I'm sure some of you have some questions for Rachel before we hear from Reverend Felton. So why don't you, I think there's a mic right there. Why don't you step up there and share what's on your mind, and then everybody will be able to hear you.
Okay. Oh, that's loud. Hey, my name is Stephen Dodson, and I was interested in script writing, and I also wanted to know how long would it usually take you to film one episode in like days or like weeks or months time?
Cool. It was Steph?
Stefan.
Stefan. Okay. Hi, Stefan. Thank you for your question. Well, that's amazing that you're interested in script writing. It's a very cool process, and I hope that maybe you can get connected with Norman here, because, or Norman's not here, but the Norman on the screen, because, you know, he's a writer. As far as how long episodes take, it depends on the length of the show. So a 30-minute show, probably 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to film an episode. For an hour-long show, it could be 2 weeks to a month. I think it just depends on how you're shooting, and you know, I think also the locations, you spoke to that. Like if you're shooting in one location, it might be a lot shorter. It might be a shorter process. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
But good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Did you live in Albuquerque, New Mexico for 6 months in a row when you were shooting Duster?
We took a little bit of a hiatus because of the writers and actors strike. And so we took like a 8-month hiatus. Oh. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shawnee Moore. I am a screenwriter and filmmaker. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to chat about that. Rachel, the camera loves you, but the naked eye loves you even more. So thank you so much for this time together. This has been really cool.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, of course. Thank Mama Anita. My question for you is, a lot of times when we're writing, people say we want to write characters that are catnip for actors. Like we want the actors to be as in love with our characters as we are. So I'm just wondering, when you read a script, what is it about a character that kind of makes you lean in and want to be a part of the project?
Well, thank you for your question. And that's a really good question. I think being able to feel the characters' dimension, three-dimensionalism, is that a word? Being able to feel, I think the character's depth is, I think, what always draws me in. Like, you know, I think there's, when I have like true questions about this character, when I feel like they're a mystery to be solved, I feel like that's what draws me in. Alternatively, if there's something that I, you know, see, if I see some of myself in that character immediately, obviously that's always exciting, because then it feels like accessible. So I feel like that's not really something that any writer can plan for, you know. I think that if the writer is writing from a real place and from, you know, from their heart, I think the actor will feel it, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, what is your question, hon?
Hello, my name is Tasia, and my question is, why do you like doing dancing?
Hi, Tasia. Hi, Tasia. That's a great question. Why do I like doing dancing? I really love to express myself with my body. I love to tell stories with my body. I think it feels really good to dance. And I like the feeling it gives me. And I like watching people dance. And I think, go ahead.
Dancing.
What? I'm sorry?
Are you ever going to stop dancing?
Oh, I hope not.
Do you like
Are you
to
a
dance,
dancer?
Tasia? Do you like to dance?
I mean, I signed up for one class, but then, two actually, and then I stopped because I liked doing, I wanted to try another sport.
I think it's great to try all sorts of things. I think when something feels good, you'll know it, and you'll just want to keep doing it.
Well, thank you for your question.
Yeah,
Tasia.
thank you.
Now, y'all know I'm dangerous with a mic, so I'm going to try not to monopolize. First of all, this is great. I'm just so excited. I mean, how many times can you just say, hey, I know an actor, and I can reach out and touch her, right? I also like to thank Norman for bringing this all about, because if it wasn't for him, then this wouldn't even be. So
Thank you to Norman. I don't know where Norman is.
I also like to thank Tom for asking the right questions and just being the perfect host. The other thing, as a dad, I gotta say, fathers are always in the background. So let's give Dad a hand.
There's Bob Hilson.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to be short because I have observations and questions, and I don't want to monopolize. But I do want to start. I do want to say something about Duster, and I guess in terms of acting in series and the movies. I think movies give you much more exposure. But when we decided to do this, I never heard of Duster. So I went to Max HBO because that's what it's on, and I encourage all of you to watch the movie. But it does raise a concern because it's only limited. Everybody doesn't have Max. Everybody doesn't have HBO, so they don't get the opportunity to see you at your best. So I think that's an issue. I don't know how we get around that, but I do want everybody to, pay your $9.99, even if it's just for 1 month, and watch Duster. I'm gonna leave that alone until I get back in line.
Hi, Rachel. My name is Joan.
Hi, Joan.
I wanted to say that I love your character on Red, White, and Royal Blue. I love that movie. And I wanted to know, that was my first question. Did you get to take on many of those fabulous clothes you got to wear?
No.
I know you wanted to, because you look like those clothes belong to you on that show.
Oh, well, thank you. No. And I'll tell you, sometimes you can. If it's a movie that with no potential for a sequel, sometimes you can take the clothes. Sometimes you can put it in your contract to take the clothes. Sometimes you can pay for the clothes. In this case, we are shooting a sequel, and so which is very exciting.
Oh, we are?
We are.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah. So the clothes are theirs to keep for right now.
Oh, great. And my second question was, how was it work with J.J. Abrams? JJ is
amazing. He's obviously so experienced and so good at making TV. And what I really love about JJ in particular is how much he champions women in film, whether it's women screenwriters, actors. You know, he loves the female heroine. All of his shows, Alias and Felicity and Star Wars, and now Duster. And I think that that's something that I really admire about him, because he's got such a big platform and such a name, and he can do anything with it. And he's chosen to really uplift women, and I really admire that. Yeah.
So that's news. Another a sequel to Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Okay, my name is Chrysaris, and I wanted to ask you, have you ever like had those times, like very times, like when you have like pressure, like to the point where you actually want to step out of the room because you feel uncomfortable?
Oh yeah. This week. Yes, all the time. I had this audition this week where, because I don't have a ton of in-person auditions like all the time. I used to when I was younger, in part because it was pre-COVID, but now we do a lot of taped auditions and Zoom auditions. But I had an in-person one, and I'll tell you, I felt like I was gonna a little bit. I did not, thank goodness, but I definitely wanted to run away at points. But then you sort of, I mean, what I did, I actually said a prayer, and that did help me a lot. And I, you know, reminded myself that, like, I am exactly where I need to be right now, and I have all of the tools to be in this room and to do my best. And that usually helps settle things, usually. But it is hard, and I do feel pressure often.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Great question.
Hi, my name is Monet. I just wanted to ask, how old are you?
Monet, is that what it is?
Yeah.
How old do you think I am? No, just kidding. Okay, I am 29.
Oh, I thought you were older than that.
Thank you so much. That actually I will take as a compliment. Thank you. I usually get the opposite, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
That wasn't a good one. Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Richardson. I'm a member here. And I vaguely remember you when you were coming to church. So you and your sister and your mom and dad, of course.
Yeah.
My question is, what happens to people, what happens with streaming? Before the strike, I think that people used to get paid every time their face showed up on media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now with the streaming, I just want to hear about the financial side of what's happened to acting in terms of the streaming part.
Yeah, it's quite complicated. I feel like we are in a particularly just interesting moment in TV where I think there's a lot of it. There's a lot of content. There are a lot of networks and studios who are trying to get in on this, you know, streaming train. But it is, I think, for the studios and the streamers, they're realizing that there is like a ceiling, and they have to figure out a way to sort of make it lucrative for both themselves and also for actors. Because yeah, actors aren't getting residuals in the same way that they used to. That sort of is a uniquely network TV thing. And yeah, most shows are streamers. I think we are, as an industry, trying to figure that out. I think SAG, the Actors Union, is trying to figure out how to make sure actors are supported and not exploited. And I think the actor strike tried, you know, we were trying to get somewhere with that. I'm sure we're going to have to renegotiate again because things are changing also just so rapidly in TV and in tech.
So you think it's more work to be done with reference
I think
to that?
so, yeah. I think so. I mean, we just don't have the old model for TV was that, you know, with a network show, you would do the pilot. If it was picked up, it would get picked up for like 22 episodes. And actors had a guaranteed job for at least, you know, 22 episodes. And I think streamers are less inclined to fully commit to a show because they just don't know how it's going to do. So I feel like they're just kind of throwing things at the wall right now and seeing what sticks. But, you know, in turn, they're not keeping writers in the room, for example, with that model. They're sort of hired like on a freelance basis, whereas before they were, I don't know what the word is, but they had more just longevity with the show. So I think that is still being worked out in this new world of streaming. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Beverly, and thank you for representing Madison Avenue every time you get on the screen. We can like...
It's an honor.
Remember the little girl here at Madison. So we just want to thank you. Welcome back. We love you.
Oh, thank you so much.
One of the things, I have two questions. One is, I've seen my sisters have shown me your shows and whatever. I'm not a real big television person, but I know who you are from, what was the one show? No, yeah, This Is Us. But what are your thoughts? My first question is, what are your thoughts? Have you ever thought about going into theater on Broadway?
Yes, I have. I recently moved back to New York last year. I was in LA for a little while, so I would love to do more theater, and I would love to do Broadway. Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because stage actors and it's so completely different. And I'm going to leave with I wanted to know, what are your thoughts as an actor about AI in movies?
That is a lot of what the actors' strike was about a couple years ago, is making sure that actors were protected from the threat of AI. And I think I think where we're gonna probably see its impact the most is in background acting, because I think it is easier to make an AI crowd. And it's cheaper, and so I think we're going to have to figure out a way to keep background actors protected, and I'm not sure what that looks like yet. I think we're all sort of like navigating this new world together, you know, and we hear these like stories come up. I think there was a story recently about this AI actor who's being like sort of circled by talent agents. And so I think we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. But, you know, there's no, we haven't seen this before, you know. So we've got to, yeah.
My name is Grixis, and I was going to ask, what made you start the career you're in right now?
Can you say that one more time?
What made you start the career you in right now?
Thank you for that question. I think I was just following my passion and following what made me happy and what made me grow and what brought me joy, and I'm still doing that. And if it stops bringing me joy, then I'll probably find another career.
Hello, my name is Tatiana, and my question is, how long did it take a hairdresser to do your hair?
That's a great question, Tatiana. And for this show, or just in general?
In general.
In general, I mean, it varies. You know, if I have braids for a show, you know, that takes like up to 8 hours, maybe 10. For this show, I wore an afro wig, so that was pretty quick. I just put it on, put some pins in, and we were on our way, which is amazing. I love that.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And we have time for just one more, and then we're going to hear from Reverend Felt.
My name is Sean, and my question is, have you been on like a movie or a show with somebody that's out making movies right now?
Who's out? Say that again?
Have you been on a movie or a show with somebody's popular right now?
Yeah, I've been on a few shows with some popular actors. Oh gosh, I don't know who you might be familiar with, but I mean, Halle Berry might be. Yeah, she's pretty famous. Daniel Craig is pretty famous. Sterling K. Brown. Yeah, check out my IMDb. I don't know. Maybe you'll recognize some people. I don't know who you know, but yes.
Okay.
IMDb is the list of everybody's credits, the films that they've made, the TV stories that they made. So we'll have one final question, then we'll hear from Reverend Felton. Two final questions. Okay, Norman.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm unfamiliar with the show, but you're beautiful.
Thank you. So are you.
I'll watch it just because of this. So I just started acting. We're around the same age group. I'm not going to put my business out there. Thank you for doing it for both of us. But what I found, so I did theater. I went out for my first theater show and I tried it and I loved it. I didn't expect to love it that much. So I just applied. Oh my gosh, I'm just transitioning. I just auditioned for a film. But it's for a role that doesn't align with who I am, right? So when I asked if I would have to be, like, dressed a certain way or what, I like my clothes a little loose. I work hard for my body, but not for everybody else to see. So how do you navigate that? Have you ever had to do anything where maybe the role was like a stripper, for example, but they saying I don't have to strip? I don't know. All I got is a boom cat. That's all I could do. So they're saying I just have to act. How did you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's a really tough dilemma to navigate, especially when you're first starting out, because obviously you want to work, but sometimes the projects don't align, and I think you've got to follow that little voice, because I think that there will be opportunities, there will be other opportunities. If there is something that feels like it truly doesn't align with who you are, then I think I would listen to that. If it's something, though, that just makes you a little uncomfortable, or you're just not sure how you're going to navigate it, I would maybe be open and encourage you to just to see where it's coming from. Is it just a place of fear, or is it a deep, like, misalignment within yourself?
Okay, and then I have another question.
Yeah.
So you did say you were a part of the union. I know you've been doing this for a while. Me, I just started back in June. So do you feel like joining the SAG was worth it with what you know now?
I mean, I think all unions are important and valuable, because I think at the end of the day, you want to feel like, you're protected, and that you have somebody that is, or a group that's advocating for you and making sure that you are safe, that you are heard, that you are paid right, all of these things. I don't think that I got my SAG card, though, until maybe my second job, because ultimately, yes, you do have to pay dues. So it's that is the trade-off, of course. So I think maybe try a couple potentially non-union roles, and then see how you feel, see if this is something that you really want to pursue, and then explore. I mean, some jobs might require you to do it, so you
have to be union.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've ever? All right, this is my last question. Then I might have to message you on Facebook. Oh my God. Do you feel like you're missing out on any opportunities with non-union work, or you feel like you're glad you joined the union? Everything you got has to be unionized, so you're happy with that?
I think I feel good about the work that I'm getting in the union.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's nothing you hear about, like, on the streets where it's like fresh upcoming. That doesn't happen.
I mean, I'm sure it happens. I think I think there's also just, like, certain things that I can't do without, I guess, permission, let's say, from SAG. That are non-union, if that makes sense. Like, I think there are more hurdles with certain jobs that are non-union.
And then I also get the idea of you leveled up a certain amount in your career.
Yeah, but there are some amazing projects that are non-union. There are amazing filmmakers that are non-union filmmakers, and yeah, I think it's just a matter of, where you are in your journey. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
It did. It really did.
Good luck to you. Yeah,
good luck to
absolutely.
you.
So Norman will give you the last word.
You want it? I'm last. Oh, yeah. Oh well. What was I going to say? You've talked about the joy that you experience, and if that stops, you'll pick another career. So many of us, a lot of us, have worked our whole lives and had jobs that they didn't really find joy necessarily in the work. It's more like joy in the salary and joy in raising your family and eating. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you seem to really like what you do, your professional life. So I want to know, what is it right now at this stage of your life that you really like about what you do? Is it being recognized on the street? You know, when people see you somewhere and say, you know, Rachel Hilson or Duster? Is it watching something on TV and having people tell you how great it was? Is it going to a movie and seeing yourself? I mean, what is it that, because we've heard about how hard it is, and I believe that. So you must be getting something from this, and I want to know what it is.
That is a great question.
I know.
I'm so, I didn't need to tell you, my bad. Well, I think that this industry, there are definitely seasons. I think right now, I feel like I am in a season of transition where, and that means honestly, like, I'm not playing super young roles anymore because I am starting to look more my age, and that sort of puts me in a weird place with casting, because I think I'm a little bit in an in-between stage. And I will say that, and then I think also personally I am growing and evolving and developing, and I think right now I will say that this industry has been a bit more depressing than it has been in previous years. And I think, you know, I really, really enjoy the craft, but the industry is rather difficult. And so I think right now I am in a place of, like, I'm trying to weather this season of my life and career out at the moment. But I still do find joy in the craft. Of course, I love it when people appreciate my work, and I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't feel good when people tell me that they get something from, you know, a project that I've been in. It does feel good. But I feel myself still growing, I think, in this field, in this career, and I think that's through the more challenging times, something that I hold on to.
Mike, I have observations and questions, and I guess I'm the last one. First of all, I'd like to say what I found great with you right now is that you've had a lot of diverse parts, so you can't be typeset. And the other thing I want to say is that you've done very well in terms of getting on some of the most popular shows that's out there. I don't know if we mentioned any. Did we mention any?
Well, This Is Us.
Because I know it was This Is Us, The Good Wife.
The Good Wife.
Yeah, I mean, so you've done very good with that. I guess I'm not going to go through all this. I got a lot. Two things. Where do you want to go with this? I know that your mother, I know they came up incidentally, but where do you want to go with this?
Where do I
mean,
want
do you want to go to film, theater, keep the series, even stage for that matter? So I was just curious where you want to take this.
Yeah, I think that's another good question. I think I want to continue to be challenged and continue to find the joy, and whether that's film or theater or TV, I'm open to it all. Honestly, I think I just I want to play characters that I find interesting, I want to be a part of projects that I think are meaningful and I feel like are necessary right now in our world. And I think I just want to keep, I want to keep learning about myself and other people. I feel like this is a career of curiosity, and I feel like that's not run out yet.
All right, so my last question is this: the money. How is that determined? I mean, is it more parts you play, the type of parts you play, if you get awards? How is that negotiated? I was just curious. I mean, I'm an accountant, so I'm always thinking money.
Sure.
But I was just curious, in the acting field, how do they negotiate money?
Yeah, I mean, typically with film and TV, you start with a quote. Your first job, you'll start with, a certain number. And after you do that role, your next job, typically your quote goes up. So ideally, you're continuing to build on your number, whether your TV number or your film number. And, if they have money, because there are a lot of projects that are more low budget. But if a project does have money, you have you'd like to keep elevating that number, if that makes sense. And then there's a negotiation phase where you will go through offers and counters, like probably any other job interview. For starting out with guest stars and co-stars, there is what they call scale, which is a set amount of money that all co-stars or all guest stars get paid. And that's sort of not really negotiable. But recurrings and series regulars, you start with a quote and then you hope to build on that as you go.
Okay, and before I leave, this is the last thing I'm getting ready to say. The very last thing I'm going to say. What really got me with Duster, what you did, I know we talked about the Russian, right? When you did the Russian, could you understand Russian now if someone talked?
Немного. Да.
That's all, I'm through.
Well, that made me want to see it. So.
This is not a question, so we're finished with questions, but I wanted this young man to introduce himself because he is in the theater business or an aspiring actor, and I wanted him to tell us a little bit about himself.
Amazing.
His name is Harold Henry.
Yes.
The third.
The third.
I'm Harold. I'm in the 8th grade. I go to Midtown Academy. I've been in Twigs at BSA since the 4th grade, and I'm still in it now. I'm in the Hippodrome Foundation, I guess, at the Hippodrome Camp, summer camp. I was in last year, Joe Turner's Come and Gone at the Chesapeake Shakespeare Company, and then in December, I was in Black Nativity at Center Stage. Nothing since then, but I still want to pursue it, and I want to go to BSA next year for high school. So.
Well, good luck to you, Harold. Hey, Reverend. Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck to you, and congratulations on these roles already. It's very impressive.
And Reverend Felton, will you have a couple of closing thoughts for us? Oh, you don't? I was told you did. Okay. While we're waiting for Reverend Felton, how about a hand for our star of the day, Rachel Hilson, everybody.
Thank you guys for being here, really.
I've seen him in various productions, and he is one to watch. And I'm also proud to call him neighbor, so he's really proud of all that he's doing. So I'm going to let y'all know when y'all listen to something again. Please! Calm down. Anita, you want to join our rising star? I keep calling her that. This is my first face-to-face. She said something in the beginning of she. Rachel said something in the beginning that she was shocked. Did you remember those words coming out of your mouth?
I shot.
No, you are shocked.
I'm shot, yes. Yes.
All right, right there, back. Oh, really?
I can help me grow out of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's not only is she eloquent, she got the spirit. And it's kitchen and y'all are ready to go audition somewhere else. I'm really well, we just thank you very much for coming and for sharing so frankly. And so you would get, look at you got all these folks engaged in everything you got to say. And there's not a random game tonight. Oh, come on. They won't never forget about the Ravens. Because you'll remember about Rachel, right, guys? I thought of being last, but I didn't have to do anything. But then they start. But anyway, I joined with Keith, and all of us that work together. Anita works like, yeah, I'm serious. Metropolitan Maryland got nothing on you, my girlfriend. She's good. And we're so bad that when you not to say what you could, look at all the years. She reached out to a lot of folks that this is our initial community engagement. Our conversation. Some people have TED Talks and acting studio. Well, Bowsley has an opportunity to engage with each other and to plant some seeds and to build, if you will, to build. I'm with the community. And you build it up a foundation that is long out. So we are shining light tonight. We're shining light. And I decided, I thought, well, I know that y'all don't want to hear me speak, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just making an invitation. I found this basket in my closet, and I brought it. What is that basket say? Y'all know about paying it forward? Yes? Okay, tonight is paying it forward. From a little girl to a very accomplished actor. She came, not put on the record, she didn't come for a gift. She came to come to see me. She came to deliver the promise. And in doing so, she brings life to our daughter. She's opened our eyes, got children listening to her about being an actor. Yeah. So we're standing in a presence of greatness, y'all. Just try. This is something we As Parker said at the beginning that we are on a mission here at Madison is to engage with the community and with the community. Not just go feed and bring more folks into the church. No. We're trying to rebuild who we are as a people. Yeah? As a tribe, the nation, yeah? Yeah. All right, so we got to have seeds. We got to excite folks about who we are. We got to shine our light, right? Because there'll be some folks that are trying to put our light out. We're going to be there. And, so this basket serves the purpose of reputation. That if you, since you invested a couple hours this afternoon in being fed and being motivated and letting her life inform your life, we're asking for people. That's what we do here. And this whole basket is a place where you can pay it forward. So I'm going to put this basket right here so that when you have your chance to come up from your pew, from your seat, to come over and, Lord, can I shoot you? Yeah. I'm going to sell this on eBay. I'm going to buy it all. I know, maybe there's something to deal with. I expect the next generation of Ruby D. Yeah. Or Gabby Allen. Yeah. She kind of puts me in the mind of Mr. Bowles. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The Black Panther man. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She puts me in the mind of that kind of actor, that kind of motive. That's how the person that we need to let our light shine, okay now? So, and once you check in her hand, now pick your autograph right now. Right, okay? And then you're going to pass it by this little box, and you're going to pay it forward. Because we're coming out. We'll have another opportunity to have a conversation. We might be about environmental justice. It might be, I don't know how to get the reasons to create anymore. I didn't know that Mr. Parker had just had a vision in mind, but he worked with us so it came true. So, I thank you for making, I thank you for the heart. I thank you for the vision. I thank you for your development. So, come on, get up on your feet, stretch yourself out. It's time that I think you're getting ready to go. I'm not sure. Already. Okay, so we're going to hurry up. All right, we're going to hurry up right now. And she may have another engagement, so I will try to finish it. Regina, and I'm going to say thank you. And you can accept it. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
One more word, I just want to make. I want to thank Mr. Tom Hall.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will thank Rachel when she comes out.
That's it. All right then. I will make it on.